Hey there, future Nevadans. Have you ever wondered if the biggest little city in the world is the perfect place for you to call home? Well, today's your lucky day. Join me as I answer the most commonly asked questions about living in Reno, Nevada, and I will help you decide whether it's a right fit for you and your family. From things like expenses to safety to weather and so much more, we've got you covered. We're even going to talk about things like population, commute times, so you have a full picture of what your life in Reno might be. So grab a seat and let's dive into the world of Reno Tahoe living and find out if it's the perfect match for you. So the largest question I get in people thinking about moving to, or is Reno a good idea for me to live, is housing. And for those of you that don't know, obviously I'm a real estate agent. I've lived here for 30 plus years. I've been a realtor for 20 plus years. So whether you're buying a house, you're renting from someone, if you can get that payment each month figured out to where you're comfortable, whether you need roommates, whether your price point for a home ends up being a little higher or lower, that's the one factor that determines whether things are expensive here. In our cost of living video, we talked about all the other things, whether it was healthcare, daycare, gas, food costs, and all those, we're either slightly above or below average, so we're pretty fair compared to other mid-sized cities and markets and things like that. If you're looking to buy a home, the average price here in Reno now is in that kind of low 500s range. I personally don't think it's expensive, and you can control pretty much all your other expenses. The other question I get from people a lot is it family friendly? Well, I moved to Reno when I was 18 years old. I came here to go to college, and my kids are now 26 and 22. They were born here, they grew up here, they both left to go to college, and they came back here. And I think if you were to ask them, or if I were to sit down with most of their friends, it's an amazing family-friendly place, whether you're trying to do outdoor things, summer programs, after-school programs, sports and events. There's just a million things to do here for young people and for kids. I grew up in Las Vegas before I moved here to go to college, and people think of Nevada for gambling and casinos, which then goes with smoking and drinking. And if you're in the outlying counties, there's still things in Nevada like prostitution. And so people think of those things when they think of the whole state of Nevada. But when you live in a place like I grew up in Vegas and my kids grew up here, it's like living honestly anywhere else. The big joke I used to always make is you'd walk into a 7-Eleven and you'd see slot machines instead of something else at the end of an aisle. But other than that, I think it's an amazing family-friendly place for people to raise their kids. And then another question I get all the time is safety. And I look at that from a perspective of being a real estate agent. I look at it like this. Would I want my mom to live there by herself? Would I want my daughter to live there by herself? And what I tell, especially my single female clients, is this. If you're considering an area or a neighborhood, go drive there by yourself at 10 o'clock at night. And if you're feeling like, I really don't want to get out of my car right now, well, then it doesn't matter what website you look up or what statistics say about the safety or non-safety of an area. It's a matter of how you feel about it. I've lived here a long time, never seen any problems or anything like that. But obviously, if you're out drinking and it's 2 in the morning and you're in downtown or an older neighborhood, yeah, it might not be the safest thing in the world. And if I talk to my property manager, whose husband is a retired police officer, every community and every city has their pockets and their areas that are less safe than others. And those are just areas that obviously most people would rather just not be in the first place. I think safety is kind of what you make of it. The weather. This is a huge question I get, especially from people from California or warmer weather climates, because their first question always is, do you get snow? At the time of making this video, we just went through the longest winter I can remember, and it has been cold and nasty and ugly. But normally in town, we don't get that much snow. In the summertime, it does get warm. Typically, it's in the 90s. We will always get a week or two that's over 100. But we get all 4 seasons. We get lots of sunshine. And if you like a variety in your weather, I personally think the weather's amazing. And there's just a few things like climate elevation that you have to get used to. But we made a whole video about the weather, so you can go watch that video. It'll go into much more detail. Population and commute times to me kind of go hand in hand. When I first moved to Reno in 1989, this community was at most half as big as it is now. The university only had 8,000 or 9,000 students, and since now it's tripled the amount of people. Our metro area is about 500,000 people, and if you start to include Carson and Dayton and Fernley and Minden and these communities that use our airport and come into town for events and things, there's got to be 750,000 people here. So it is definitely more populated, but I don't necessarily feel like commute times or traffic has been that much worse. The Spaghetti Bowl went from a small 3 lanes each direction to we're now at 6 lanes each direction. An average commute time's always been about 20 minutes. So again, it's all what's relative. If someone moves here from San Francisco, they think our traffic and commute times are amazing. But if you are someone who lived here your whole life and were here when the city was half as big, they're bitching and moaning about commute times, traffic times. And there are a few areas, if you're an 8 to 5 worker, if you're coming in from the North Valleys or from Pyramid Highway, that yeah, there's going to be some traffic and some commute times that are longer than 20 minutes, but it's just something to pay attention to when you're figuring out where you want to live. The last topic that we're going to talk about are incomes and salaries and jobs and those kind of things, because again, that is why a lot of people are moving here. There's a company called EDON, they're the economic development company that helps bring companies to Northern Nevada. And what has happened over the last 20 years is we have diversified our economy to where we used to be very dependent upon gaming and people traveling here for summer, winter sports. And now we brought a lot of Bay Area companies, a lot of tech companies, a lot of higher paying jobs here that have more future long-term income growth. In the stats I looked up, they said to live a decent life here in Reno, you need to make about $58,000 a year. So my feeling is the world is kind of a two-income world these days. And if you have two people both making close to $60,000, you're going to be just fine living in the Northern Nevada and Reno area. So those are some of the main questions I get. If you have questions specific to your situation, especially about housing, by all means, reach out to us. Send us a comment below. We'll happily get you the information. And if you're enjoying and liking the content information we're putting out there, by all means, like the post, subscribe to the channel, and hopefully we'll see you on some future videos again soon about all things living in, moving to, and visiting Reno and Lake Tahoe.